Good morning. Today we are starting Unit 2 in our math binders, and we are working on CO11. I can create and write equivalent fractions. Does anybody know off the top of their head what does an equivalent fraction mean? Emma?
It's something that's equal to another fraction.
Something equal to another fraction. They're the same value. So when we talk about simplifying down your fractions, the simplest form, they're all equivalent fractions. They have the same value. So if we look at our page, I forgot to copy off the notes for my group that need the notes, but it's not much that we have to write. So I'm going to have you write it this time. Usually I will have them copied off. Equivalent fractions are two fractions with the same value. So that 6/10 on our test is the same value as 3/5. They are equivalent. They have the same value. We multiplied the top and the bottom by the same number. So equivalent fractions mean you can, if you simplified them all down, it would simplify down to the same fraction. So let's see what that looks like using our bars. We're going to shade in 1/2 using the bar at the right. So shade in 1/2 of your bar. Now shade in 1/2 of this bar. It's going to go to the same place, right? That middle of our bar. But on the top one, I just have one section I shaded in. On the bottom, the one under it, I had two sections I shaded in. So if I shaded in 2 parts, out of how many parts altogether? How many parts did I divide that bar into? Yeah, I divided it into 4 parts. So I shaded in 2/4. On this top one, I shaded in one section out of 2. So 1/2 and 2/4, if we look at our bar, they look the exact same. They're the same value, but the fractions look different. So now, let's shade in 1/2 here. Again, we're going to that same middle spot because we're shading in 1/2 our bar. But this time, how many parts did I shade in? James? 3. Out of how many parts altogether, Adeline? 6. Now we're going to do the same thing here. Shade in 1/2. All of these we're shading in 1/2, but we can see they're the same value, but it's going to be a different fraction. What fraction am I going to have for this bar, Jack?
4/8.
4/8. I shaded in 4 parts out of 8 total parts. Now let's look at this last bar, shading in 1/2 of it. We can see it's all still the same value, but what does this fraction look like, Helen? 5/10. Same value, the same amount of the bar is shaded in, but it's different fractions. These are all equivalent fractions. If I simplify down 2/4, 3/6, 4/8, and 5/10, if I simplified it all the way down, it's going to be 1/2. So let's look at number 1. Shade in 2/3 of the bar at the right. How do I do that? Emma? We shade 2 of the 3 bars. The next one says, how many ninths is equivalent to that 2/3? So where do I want to shade it into? James?
Into the,
I want to shade it so that it's the same amount that's shaded in, right? So I'm going to shade in those boxes to that same spot, so it's got the same amount shaded in as 2/3. So now, I have it broken into ninths. What do I put as my numerator, Adeline? Yeah, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 boxes were shaded in, so that is 6 ninths. Now for number 2, it says shade in 3/4 of the bar at the right. Our bar is split up into 4 sections, so how many of them do I want to shade in, Adeline? 3. 3/4 would have 3 out of 4 boxes shaded in. How many eighths is equivalent to 3/4? Again, we want to shade in that same amount, so it's the same value. So if I have 3/4, how many is that for the eighths? How many of the eighths parts were shaded in, Aaron? 6. 6. All right. I need to move it up. Let's look at number 3. Shade in 2/5 of the bar at the right. How many parts do I want to shade in, Emma? 2. How many tenths are equivalent to 2/5? I'm going to shade in that same amount, the same value. But now it's broken into tenths, so how many sections of the tenths, Hudson? 4. 4. See how they're the same value, the same amount is shaded in, it's just broken up differently. But when we simplify it down, it's going to simplify to the same parts. So when making an equivalent fraction, you are really just multiplying the original fraction by a number over itself. This number is called the scale factor. Fill in the boxes with the missing numbers to make the statement true. So our scale factor, for this first one, we are multiplying both the top and the bottom by 2's. So 3/4 is equivalent or equal to what? James?
6 8.
6 eighths. 3 times 2 is 6. 4 times 2 is 8. Our next one, we have our first fraction 3/7. We know it's equal to, it's equivalent to 15/35. What's the scale factor that I multiplied by, Maddie? 5 over 5. So I know 3 times 5 is 50. 7 times 5 is 35. For this next one, you're going to find the scale factor. What are we multiplying the top and the bottom to? And you're going to fill it in. For the last two, we have a fraction. We have to figure out what did we multiply the 6 by to get 12. What did we multiply the 6 by to get the 30? So fill in those missing numbers. On the bottom, it says for each given fraction below, write 2 fractions that are equivalent to it. So I keep mine easy. I say, I like to multiply by the scale factor of 2 because I know my 2's. 3 times 2 is 6. 5 times 2 is 10. That's one scale factor, or that's one equivalent fraction. Then I'm going to multiply it by my 3's. 3 times 3 is 9. 5 times 3 is 15. There are 2 equivalent fractions. Do I have to just do 2's and 3's? No. You could do 10. That's another easy one. If I multiply it by 10's, I would have 80 over 120. I have to do 2 for each equivalent fraction. For each fraction we're given, give me 2 equivalent fractions. You need to show me what scale factor you're using. what you're multiplying by. That is showing our work. You can't just write down the final two equivalent fractions. You have to show me what your scale factors were. What did we multiply by? So here I could also do the 2/2. So I would have 16 and 24. Okay, two equivalent fractions for each fraction that we're given. Show me what your scale factor is that you're multiplying them both by. Any questions on today's assignment? So you're gonna finish up here with our missing numbers, and you're gonna do the two equivalent fractions for the bottom, okay? We did learn about equivalent fractions in math in 5th grade, so this isn't brand new for us. We are going to be working off of this for the math we're doing in this unit, so we need to understand how to do it. If you are watching this at home, I hope you are well, and I hope to see you soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and have a wonderful day.